this session up and go to the whiteboard. Actually, we might go to another board. Wait, let me see this. Okay, there we go. So, what is sales? That's my question. And I want you to take a minute to type down whatever you think sales is down in the chat. Like, what is sales? What do you think? Like, what sales is? Come on, it's not that difficult of a question. What is sales? Helping people make decisions. Good one. Good one. Good one. What else? Ivika, Karan, what do you guys think? What sales is? Sales is the process of selling a product service to a customer in exchange for money or value. Good. Good. Okay. So what you guys said is right. Like, you're helping people make decisions. You're selling a service in exchange for money or value. But what I think sales is a transfer of beliefs. Sales is nothing but a transfer of beliefs. Because at the end of the day, on a sales call, I want you to believe in what I believe in. And what I want to make sure is I don't end up believing in what you believe in. For example, if someone tells me that they want to go and think about it. Now, we all know that that's coming from a place of fear, right? That's coming from a place of fear, and they're just trying to find an excuse to get off the call. Now, my entire thing would be to make sure that I transfer my beliefs on why he should stay on the call and do this now rather than going and thinking about it. Right? So, sales is nothing but a transfer of beliefs. Another thing, another word that I want to use, which might be a bit unethical, and that is manipulation. Well, how the fuck do you spell it? Manipulation, something like that, I guess. Okay. It's manipulation, right? You almost manipulate them into doing what's best for them. Right? So manipulation is a bad thing. Gaslighting, a bad thing, we all have excess. Some of them are toxic. We all know how that shit goes with manipulation and gaslight. But in this step in sales, it's almost like you manipulate people for their own good. So they can make the decision that they want to make. Now, once you understand this, then you don't even need any reframes. You don't even need a script. You don't even need none of that. You just need them to believe in what you believe in and make the decision today by just asking question. Now, for example, let's say Ivika and I are on a call and he want to think about it. Now, I want him to admit that it's fair and not the fact that he want to do more research. Now, if I tell him that directly of like, hey Ivika, I think it's like you're just afraid and just fear and you should do this, it's not gonna work. It's only gonna work if I ask him questions that gets him to that stage himself, right? Where he admits that it's fair and not actually him wanting to go over and think about it. Now, how do you make someone admit that it's fair and not something else? Number one is you do hypotheticals. Now, what are hypotheticals? These are situations where you put them in. For example, if someone wants to go and think about it and it's a biz op offer you're on, one hypothetical would be if I had a genie and he could move his hand and give you exactly what you want right now with guarantee that if you join you're going to make money. Is that something like, would you do it? They're gonna like, of course I'm gonna do it. This is how you isolate. So then you're like, okay, so it's more like, so you don't trust in the coaching or what's going on, right? So number one is hypothetical. You tell them stories, of like, um, if you had X, Y, and Z, would you do this? If you had a genie that guarantees you're gonna make money with this, would you do it? Right? If you had 1,000 people, 1,000 testimonials showing you and telling you that you should do it, would you do it? Right? Again, number one is hypotheticals, and this would usually get you a response of them admitting, almost admitting to the real objection. So you isolate the real objection. And from this point, you basically talk about the impact, opportunity cost, and character. And character. Now, once you isolate the real objection by basically putting them in a hypothetical situation of like, if you had a genie, would you do it? He's like, okay, I would do it. You're like, okay, so like it's more about the fact that you don't believe in the program or what's happening. Oh, I believe in the program. I just don't think that I can do it. I just don't know if this would work for me, XYZ. After this, you just talk about the impact, opportunity cost, and character, which is like you want them to think on like what's gonna happen if they don't do this. You want them to think what has happened that they have not taken a similar decision to this, and then you want to talk about what character they need to become in order to achieve what they want to achieve. Right. For example, one of the frames that I really love for this thing specifically is saying something like, would you agree that for you to achieve what you want to achieve, you need to do the things that you have not done? Like for you to have the things that you have never had, you need to do the things that you have never done. Would you agree that for you to make 10K a month, you need to do the things that you've never done before? Because and they're like, yeah, of course. You're like, why though? Like why? They're like, oh, because I've been doing this for XYZ reasons, and the maximum I've made is 2K. I'm like, gotcha. So would you agree that you're in your situation because you've been making the decisions based off of where you're at in life right now and not where you want to go? They're like, yeah, I would agree. So I would be like, okay, so for you to get here, wouldn't you agree that you need to start making decisions like him? And they're like, yes. Then I'm like, okay, so what needs to happen on this call to make you that person, to get you closer to that 10K? I need to do this. Do you see how you do this? Again, I don't have a frame for this. I don't have a script for this. It's literally you making them admit on what's going on, you giving them mind frames, and then you taking the control and then they guiding through on why they need to do this today. And not even today, on why they need to do this. Another frame is most of you have been on a call with me and you would know that I do my best as a coach to remove all of your limiting beliefs so you can join Setters Up. Now, why do I do that? Number one, I love money, right? I love money. Of course, I want the money. Number two is I know it can help you. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that this will make you money. If you have the doubt, then when you do these objection handling things, it looks more like a gimmick. It looks more like you're trying to sell them on something. You're just out there to get their money. But the moment you actually start believing in the fact that, okay, this will help this guy, they feel that energy. Right? So you need to believe that, the product can help them. And then again, you need to do all of this and kind of change your beliefs around sales. Sales is nothing. It's not a script. It's not you selling something. It's a transfer of beliefs. And the best example that I can give you for this is like, have you ever had a disagreement with a friend on something or with your girlfriend, with your ex, whoever that might be, and you're standing for one thing and they're standing for another thing, and by the end of the conversation, they end up believing in the same thing you believe in. They end up saying, okay, what you said is right. Never mind. Okay, so what is that? Now, a lot of people don't consider that sales, but it is sales. You just sold them on what you believe in. How did you do that? By transfer of beliefs, right? So sales is not just selling something. It's transferring what you believe in and having them believe it. And how do you do that? Again, hypotheticals, isolate. You talk about the opportunity cost. You give them reframes, and bada bada boom. And the way it works is you need to make sure that it's logical and it's emotional to some extent. Right, so if you go too deep into that voodoo shit and just talking about emotions, it's gonna piss off people. It logically needs to make sense to the people that you're speaking with for them to make the decision. Another thing that I want to do today is show you a couple of my DM conversations that I'm having as a coach. Um, so we're gonna look into a few conversations, right? We're gonna. Can you see my screen by the way? Just to be on the, sounds good. Now, this is someone that has interacted with one of my posts, and I just sent them an outbound, right? So I said, "Hey, Victor." Now, by the way, guys, keep in mind, a lot of people on my profile are closers, phone setter, DM setters, so they already know this shit, right? They know exactly what I do. So the way I go with things is a bit different, and that's what intent-based setting is in a nutshell. Are you a DM setter as well? Hey, no problem. I try to interact as much as I can for those of us in the industry. Plus, your setter info has been really helpful. Okay, so she is warm. She's been following me. Found some of my stuff helpful. On two current, I'm on two offers as of right now. Let me tell you, it's some mental work. Bada bada boom. Now again, I match the energy. I give the same energy back. Big responses. Bada bada boom. The next thing I ask is like, what sort of offers are they on? Right now, why do I ask this question? Is if I ask about the offers and they say, oh, both of them are average offers, guess what? I can talk about what they did to find those offers. What's your strategy to find these offers? Oh, I go through Facebook groups. How long have you been doing that for? For about 8 months. How many offers did you find? Three. Were all of them similar to this? Like not too good? Then they're like, yes. Then I would say, do you see it? Do you see the pattern? You're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result each time. That's what Einstein calls insanity. They're like, that makes sense. I gave them clarity. Do you see? Like, I don't ask questions for the sake of, I don't give a fuck what the company's doing. But what I do care about is I can guide the conversation to what I want. So again, I asked, is it like 300K a month or something? What sort of revenue are they doing? Personally, I stuck with automation that pays the most or BizOp. They said, "Oh no, I wish, haha, no, the realtor one is the newest and not hitting 100K. The other one is doing 100K a month, and I'm the only setter for both of them." Which means my question worked, but it did not work that well. It did not get me the response that I needed, right? Because she has a company that's doing 100K a month. So what I did is I basically went around with it, right? So I assume you're most likely making, because again, I said this did not land. I did not get a response of she saying like both of them are shit. Guess what's my next step? How much money are you making with it? Right? Because if they say, oh, I'm making 2K, guess what? Then I can reframe to how long you've been working there for about 8 months. So like for the 8 months you've been at 2K, wow. Like the average DM setter makes like 6K or 4K. You're still at 2K a month? What's causing that? How did you find this offer? See? The same reframes, right? And then I would say, do you see the pattern? You're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, right? So again, I try to ask the question like, how much are they making money? How much is she making right now? She said, I'm not even close. It's just my first month. And I'm like, fuck. Even this did not land because it's her first month. She doesn't have the data for me to tell her that what she's doing is wrong because she can just say, oh, I've only been here for a month. Let me spend some time and figure this out. So now I need to figure out another way that I can go around it. So I said, is it commissions or base? She said it's 1K base for both of them, so I know she's qualified. It's been a bit slow. She got like 4 deals so far that she said, bada bada boom, bada bada boom. Now at this point, I just shifted to our YouTube channel and resources. I'm like, let me warm her up a little bit. Because again, at this point, I've tried two reframes. If I push her even more, it might come off really salesy, and she's gonna be like, "Let's get straight to the point." So I'm like, "Let me do this. Let me take a step back." Because she's qualified, she's been following me. I know she's a good fit. I don't want to burn the lead. Now, the learning lesson for you guys is a lot of the times you guys just burn leads just by asking so many questions again and again, again and again, trying to get the set as of that moment that you end up burning them. And as a DM setter, you might have seen it. In your DMs, people are like, can we cut the questions? Let's get straight to the point. Can we please stop asking questions? What are you selling? Again, that wouldn't happen if you just give them enough space. Right? So again, I shifted to this. Now she gave me a lot of information. She said I started in sales a year ago to become a content creator. A lot of things, a lot of things. Again, I couldn't relate more. Bada bada boom, bada bada boom. Now this is, she said, things are different. Things are changing every single day in sales. I couldn't find the entry. She gave me an entry to go with. I was like, boom, I'll leverage that. So the next thing I said is like, the other day the entire space has changed. Like one day it's one system, the other day it's another system. That's why I ended up sticking with intent based setting because it's evergreen, if that makes sense. Bada bada boom, again, similar things, just giving her more information. Now she said yes to getting some help on my Facebook post, so I just kind of sent her a message being like, hey, do you need help? She's like, I definitely want to make 10K a month, but for now 2K a month. I just added base. I don't have enough commission data yet. Once I get into a consistent financial situation, that's when I would want to learn more about your program and what you offer. Again, I did not push, sent her tons of resources, gave her enough time. And now this is the conversation we're having as of right now. And within the next 15, 20 days, she is definitely going to close. Now, again, this was an example of a conversation where I was trying to find my frame, I was trying to use my frame, but it did not land too well. Right? So let's talk about a conversation where it did. Let's find it. Bada bada boom, bada bada boom. This is also another great conversation that we can look into, but it's a bit more different than my typical style, so I wouldn't want to show you that. Let's go with this one. Again, outbound. Where did you find me? He said, I'm glad to have a connection. A brother referred me. How long you been a DM setter? 3 months. Are you working on any offers right now? Again, what's the reason I'm asking this question is so I can ask, how's the offer? What it's about? Is it good? Is it bad? And then the same thing I always do you see the pattern? If they are on an offer, it's good. How much money they're making? Again, the same thing so I can be like, do you see the pattern? Now this guy, how much is your course? How much is it? Right. So I just said course isn't a word that I'd be using. Plus, it's invite only with a 100% success rate. As of right now, it's a whopping zero because I have no clue what you need help with or what your gaps are. Help me understand what is it all about. Fitness niche. What's the company doing per month? What sort of lead flow? It's only been a month. I just closed one deal. An entire month and one close. That's freaking bullocks. Insane. Is it commission? He said if I book 12, then 1K base. And I was like, how many did you book in your first month? He said 10. So I was like, you need two more to get one base? He said, no, I need 12 sales to get the 1K base. Right? And I was like, so it's for the closes and not the set? He said, yes. I was like, that's messed up, bro. Now, like, you've gotten like 12 sets in total for the month. He said another setter is there. I was like, how long has he been with the offer? He said we joined together. I was like, what's the monthly revenue? He said no idea. Now this is where I challenge people. Because what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, you're a DM setter working with an offer, knowing your income depends on what they make as commissions. Why you have no idea? He said I joined on 7. I'm gonna drink some of your water by the way. He said I joined on 7th November. Again, I said you're supposed to know the company before you even join. I said that's how you win an offer. I mean, you so this is what I do. It's called Hey, yo, who's speaking? Wrote to me. Let me
Dude,
mute this beautiful guy. Okay. So another thing that I do in the DMs or in sales call is like hot and cold. Right. So if you see I'm bashing this guy, like I'm literally bashing this guy. Like why don't you know that? Like you're supposed to know that. Like it's like the environment is hot. I need to cool it down a little bit. So I said, I mean, you're clearly good. You're getting. So do you see, like, I'm bashing him, but I'm making him feel good about himself. Right? So it's almost like finding a perfect balance. So the other person is like, nah, fuck this guy. He's an asshole. He's just bashing me. He's just making me feel bad. So you bash them up, and then you're like, I mean, you're clearly good. You're getting set. He said, that's the thing I missed, bro. My coach also said that. Again, a lot of people would say, a lot of people would just ignore the question completely. What the fuck does he mean by he missed on that? How do you miss on revenue? Does that make sense? Because you're joining a company and you miss on the revenue they're making. Like I was like, what caused you to miss on that possibly? Right? So it was like again, I would say not being professional and not being desperate. And I want you to notice, we went from basically him saying that he missed out on figuring out what the offer is making to saying that he was desperate to land a role and that's why he just jumped on with it. See, there's a massive gap. That's so much more information for me. How did I do that? Again, you bash whatever. I just asked questions on whatever didn't make sense to me. I didn't follow a fucking script. If you look down here, I missed out on it. How the fuck did you miss out on it? Again, it didn't make sense. I asked a question, right? So again, whatever doesn't make sense, you ask questions. I said desperation typically causes much of it. I'm glad you realized that, but now we're here on an offer that's not worth the effort. What's the next step, right? He knows this offer is not worth it. He knows he messed up. I want you to think about the next step. Where does he want to go now? So he's like, I'll stay in this role, and at the same time, I'll look for another good role actively. I said, what's your strategy? You guys know where I'm going with this. If I ask what's your strategy, then I'll have him admit that he's been following the same strategy. It's not getting him anywhere, and he needs a different strategy, right? So he said, I'm mainly relying on networking for that. That's good. Very good. Networking is one of the best way to find roles. What else? Right? He said, oh, if I come across any good role, I'll apply to that. This is where I would have said something funny. I missed out on that. Um, but this is the point where you want to say something like cocky. You want to say something funny, right? For example, Ivika, with you, I said, an eel. When I was chatting with Ivika, right, he was on a bad, he was on a bad offer, and this guy said, but another seller made 3K with it, and I said, and Elon made 1 billion yesterday, right? So if they say something stupid, you want to say something stupid. So he said, if I come across any good role, I'll apply to that. I could say something like, and I'll sit and I'll sit in my garden waiting for gold to come out of the sky. Right? If they say something stupid, you give the same energy. You're like, do you hear yourself, bro? Like, what are you even saying? And then it's again, he said there's a lesser chance. I applied to roles, but it has a lesser chance than networking. Now again, I've applied to roles outside of networking, and I've made a lot of money with that. So why the fuck it's not working for him? Again, whatever doesn't make sense to me, I ask a question. And if you notice, there's no resonation, nothing, just a straight question, because it doesn't make sense to me. He said, the space is mainly based on referrals, high chance, bada bada boom, you have 100 more applying. Again, I said, why does it make it difficult for you if 100 more people are applying? Like, there's no connection. He said, another person might have more experience. I said, let me. So I was like, you fell right into it, motherfucker. This is my trap. This is my game. You said it now. So I said, let me ask you this. Usually on group interviews, almost everyone have experience. Some have 1 million, some have 100K, some have none. Do you think the business owners and managers hire only seller that has the highest cash collection? Because if that was the case, then they can simply make the hire from the application. Interviews are not even required. Makes sense? They actually look for hunger. You see how we made this guy from, oh, it's my, to hunger? And then I'm like, partially, but what they look for is easy to work with, definitely someone that can trust, insane work ethic, and top notch communication skills. These are the main four things they look for, right? Now, if you've been within the coaching for a minute with me, you know that one intent based setting is about giving the client clarity in the DMs. So they're like, oh, fuck, that makes sense. Thank you. Right? So that's what I did here. And then I'm like, so there are other offers. I said, pa, 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 pa. Again, how did you find this fit? He said, again, how did you find this fitness offer? Networking, bro. Did you get any other offer through networking? He said, no. I was on another one. Not good. What was bad about it? He said, not professional, cold, outbound, bada bada boom. I said, those were the only two? He said, yeah. I was like, bro, do you see the pattern on why you still haven't achieved what you want to achieve? He said, changing it too much, I guess. I was like, no, bro, fuck no. We're following the same strategy, doing the same things over and over again, expecting to find a job. Knowing that it's been 3 months and you've jumped on three offers and all three of them are bad. Your current search strategy is broken, something is missing. Still, you do it every day expecting a different result. That's what Einstein called insanity. I love DM setting. I love it. Like, this shit gets me excited. And there's like, that's the problem going on here. Now, I didn't book him. I sent him to my Q&A session instead because this guy is on an offer with only one close and no base. So it's not worth my time getting on a call today, but maybe in the future. But I want you to take a minute and imagine if I did propose a call at this point. How impactful would that call be? You're not gonna get, yes, sure, you're gonna get, bro, I would fucking love that. I would love to jump on a call with you, bro. Again, why? Because during this conversation, he left with more clarity than he came in with. He realized what's not working. Now, for him to get that help, he knows I can help him because I helped him figure out what's not fucking working. A lot of you guys within the DM conversations, you're holding back information. You're keeping them confused. You're giving them vague shit. Help them realize what's not working so when you propose a call, they can look at it as a solution. Now, a lot of you guys, like, you've heard it before, right? I'm sure each one of you have heard it. Like, if there is not a problem, there's no solution. Right? So you need to have a problem to diagnose it, to give a solution. Now, what a lot of setters think is they think pain is the problem. Is they think marketing is the problem if they're working with an e-com offer. If someone is struggling with marketing, they think that's the problem. No, 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 no. They don't know how to market. They're doing the wrong thing. That's the fucking problem. That's what you need to make them realize. Right? So, again, no problem, no solution. So you make sure you get a problem. Now, I would show you another conversation. It is a bit different. Now, this woman is a closer. So she's been in sales. She knows exactly what I do. Right? So the conversation that I would be having with her is going to be slightly different than what I would do otherwise. Again, where did you find me? We have a couple of mutuals. You know, I'm in the high ticket sales space myself. Then I'm like, I see that you recently joined the space. How is it going? Going well. Again, you know, just kind of, again, ha 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 ha. Why? So, so I can sound a bit more human to these people, and just not come off as, you know, salesy or anything. Again, connecting. Now, she said, what made you reach out to me? Now, I was like, this is my point of entry. This is where I can, because think about it. She's already in sales, right? She's already in sales, which means she like, the likelihood of her not closing on my program is super high already. So why not just throw it out there and see if it lands? Because if it lands, hallelujah. You know, because she wasn't closing either ways, but if it does, I've made it happen. So this was my point of entry. I said, with all transparency, I'm a DM coach, so I usually reach out to people within the space and those that are DM setters or want to become the keyboard warriors. just to get him on a call. Guess what happened? She said, I see, I mean, you're obviously highly skilled at DM setting, so I take I'm being set right now. I said, ain't none setting you up until DM setting is something. See, it worked. It hit. Now, a lot of people would have ignored the conversation here, thinking she's in sales, she's not going to close. But again, just throw it out there. You never know, it might land. I said, not anyone is nobody's going to set you up until DM setting is something you want to do, but you're more on the close. So I'm literally I'm taking the opportunity away from her. I'm like, but you know what? You're already on the closing side of things, So maybe, we just we build a cool connection where I spam cat gifts on your future posts. Now that I took the opportunity, she's like, nah, I want to know more about this. How does this work? So she's like, I'm open to pursuing different avenues. Definitely don't want to close myself on any opportunity. And looking through your post, DM setting does seem a lot more interesting than I anticipated. And I'm like, this works. So from this, uh, then I said, guess I'm about to get one more set for the day. Right? Again, I'm going to throw it out there. She's like, I think I gave in too early. I'll be throwing a couple of objections now. But then again, this is where I do reframes, right? So I said, but again, all jokes aside, because at this point, I need a way to get inside the conversation and the details, right? And based on looking at this, what do we get from this message? What do you think? Like, what's something she's struggling with? Just from this message alone. Like, what do you guys think?
Like she doesn't find closing that interesting anymore.
Yes, that's one. Good job. What else?
Okay, she has been pursuing different things, but haven't really found anything interesting yet. That is like for me or for her. So
Bingo.
already looking for something.
Bingo. She doesn't have clarity. She doesn't know what to do. She's confused. Too many things. And that is my entry. That is my way to get inside the conversation and make it happen. So what I do is I said, again, whatever, this is what we call listening between the lines, reading between the lines. This is what reading between the lines is. She said nothing about being confused, but if we take a minute to look at that, we can feel the confusion. That is what reading between the line is. So I read between the lines. I said, I mean, all jokes aside, DM setting is pretty cool, pretty different and fun. I mean, the way I look at the space is almost like a jungle. Too many branches, too many opportunities, too many words being thrown around. CSM, closing, phone setters, DM setters, and so much more. It just boils down to having personal clarity on what you want from the space and curating your own plan. So on what branch can get you there, and then pretty much cutting off all the branch. As a matter of fact, let's get you some clarity. What are you looking to get out of this space? The question was, what are you looking to get out of space? The phrase, the framing that I did for the question made it 10x more impactful. Just because I read through the lines. She said, I'll be throwing in some objection. Again, I would have replied back with the same humor. I said, shit, let me wear my big boy pants then. She said, to be honest, just starting out, I would like to refine my skills, work on offers, bada bada boom, just a bunch of nonsense. And then I was like, beautiful question. She asked me a question, but it depends. I said, is it like with DM setting, does it depend on the offer or more on yourself? I said, I've seen low key retard setters that think that the world is flat, making 15K a month because the offer is good. And I've seen some really great setters struggling to even make 5K a month. Now, this is where I almost pitch her what we do, almost sell what we have, almost make it seem so good, but not sell her. Like it's like I'm giving information that I want to put out. Like that's why we do intent-based setting. I love sales. It's unpredictable. We teach you how you can make more money. You have no clue if the month is gonna be 16K or 1500. Bada bada boom. I sold her a bit. Again, a lot of messages because this is a different lead. And then boom, boom, boom. It's cool. It has potential. Now again, if she asks me a question, I just sell her. For example, what got you into DM setting yourself? I'm selling her on the fact on how phone setting and closing is overrated. It's there are too many people in there. You don't have good DM setters. You don't have good DM setter managers. You don't have this good DM setting coaching. That's where the money is. Like, so I'm selling her without even selling her, without even her realizing. And boom, we had an entire conversation. Now, what did I do? Um, she said your time is precious. Now, this is a really good point for me to just step back, give her some time, give her some resources, and then bring her back down the line. So I gave her some I said reflexes. I gave him some resources. I said, "This is my YouTube." Again, humor, bro. Add a bit of humor. I said, "But if you want to see me flex my money, this is my IG." Right? So I threw in that in. I said, "I love a good flex." I said, "Amen to that." And then I think you're too good. I said you would eventually figure this out. This isn't the end though. I'll be back. Right? So again, this 120%. This is gonna be a set. So, so do you see how I set these people in? Again, every conversation is different than each other. Like no conversation is same because I don't use scripted questions, but I have a mental frame in my mind on what I want to do. I want to give more clarity, and I want to do a pattern interrupt of like, do you see the pattern? You're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, and then book the call. And that's what intent-based setting is. You don't go for pain. And the funny part is, we have setters that are trying to get pain and goals and all that shit, and they make it seem so unnatural. I get all of that within my conversations, and it seems natural as fuck. Any questions?
Okay, so question.
Okay.
So um this strategy seems very different, and I like it very much. Um the thing is, it seems like first, a person should, a major part of this would be like having your own mental frame, like having your own inner game. So like when you actually go in now and talking to a person, you know exactly what to ask. And like, um having not really an agenda, but kind of having a, like, would you say it's like having a certain checkpoints you want to cross.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so
Yes.
would it be more like that then? So first thing, the
Absolutely.
step would, yeah,
So that is what we teach you during the practice stage, or when you're practicing on how intent-based setting works. But to kind of give you an idea on how it works, is it has a frame. Of course, it has a frame because you need things you can, bada bada boom, check off. But it's a bit different.
yeah,
So you focus on current situation, you focus on goals, and you focus on challenges. Now the thing with this is whatever they talk about first. So if they talk about challenges, if they talk about goals, if they talk about, doesn't matter what they talk about first, you target that. It's not like they talk about goals first, but you're like, ah, no. In my system, we start with, what do you do for work? So you have some fucking common sense. Stop being retards and just whatever they talk about first, just go with it. Now, what's your goal? Is you go 2 to 3 layers deep. Now, what do I mean by that? The example that I showed you today, we're just going to take that as it is, and then we're going to replicate it here. For example, the guy said, I did not wed the offer. I don't know the revenue. So, no revenue, right? I don't know the revenue. A layer deeper is, why don't you know it, right? He said, because I was desperate. I missed out. He said, I missed out on it. I said, why did you miss out on it, right? He said, because I was desperate. Right? And then, yeah, he said I was desperate. Right? Again, 2 to 3 layers deep by asking questions about what they're saying that genuinely doesn't make sense. For example, I want to make money, right? I wanna make money. Um, by the way, if someone tells you I just want to make more money or I want to make money, say something stupid because it's a stupid energy, right? So if someone says I want more money, I said I want a baby goat. you know. And then I would say like I would say I want a baby goat. Send that, and then be like, but all jokes aside though, like for you specifically, like what does that look like? So like smooth butter, right? So if someone says I want to make more money, like what do you mean by that? Like what sort of money? Like it's 5K, 10K. Oh, I want like 10K a month. Then you're like, okay, that makes sense. Like it seems like you've thought about 10K a month before. Like why exactly 10K a month? And then you can talk about what would that allow you to do, how long you've been wanting to do that, bada bada boom, what have you tried to do that, XYZ. But the entire goal is you go 2 to 3 layers deep and you remember that whatever doesn't make sense, you call it out. The rule of sales that I want you to remember is never assume when there's a way to find out. So if I say I want more freedom, in your mind you're gonna assume, okay, he wanna work less hours, he wanna go or travel more. That's your assumption. But for me, you know what freedom looks like? Writing books and writing music, right? So never assume when there's a way to find out, because you're assuming based on what your own based on your own perception and your own life. Like what you want, you think they want to. But in reality, they could want something completely different, right? So never assume when there's a way to find out. So whatever doesn't make sense, you call them out. You're like, fuck, that doesn't make sense. What do you mean by that? Another aspect to this is, I think what you've already noticed is you almost act like a therapist in these conversations with a cold and warm approach. Now, again, as I said, not cold and yeah, cold and hard approach, right? So you bash them up. Why do you want to do this? Why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done this? And then you're like, I mean, you're doing everything. I can see that you're hard working. I can see that you really want to make this happen. But like, what's really coming up for you? Do you see? It's like hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. Because again, if it's too much bashing, it's not going to work out. So you want to compliment them, make them feel good about themselves, make them feel like a baby, and then boom, you just throw in that hammer and push them away. Right? So it's cold and hot, cold and hot. The other thing is you give them clarity, that aha moment. Now, what is aha moment? Did you notice how within the conversation, by the end of it, the guy was like, "That makes sense. My system is broken." That's an aha moment, right? That's an aha moment. So another thing that you look for and that you aim for is to give these people an aha moment in the DMs, so that when you propose your call, it's 10x more effective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Makes a
Sounds
lot of
good, bro.
sense.
Sounds good. And this is something that you're going to practice more. Again, everything is reps. You've just been, I mean, all of you are really hard working, but you guys have been taught the wrong foundations for sales. And I want you to take a minute and think about it. Jeremy Lee Minor, Bill Walsh, Cole Gordon, every single big guy, they became big because they questioned sales. They were they were basically taught a way of doing sales. They reached a point where they questioned it, they changed it and created something else, and that worked better and they sold it. So when you realize that the greatest salesmen in the history of our world have been the people that question sales and change it and create their own versions of it, then you realize why you've been taught the wrong foundations, right? So intent-based setting, again, it's a new way of doing setting, which is highly effective, and it's a lot more human, and it gets you the kind of result that you want. Now, perhaps you might not get like 10 sets a day, but guess what? You might get 3 sets a day with a 90% show up rate and a 60% close rate. Now, the question is, would you rather have 10 sets a day with 50% show up rate and 20% close rate, or 3 sets a day with 90% show up rate and 60% close rate? That's what intent based setting is. Any other questions, guys? Come on, man. This is my favorite part of the day. Give me some questions. I think I did a
Okay,
good job.
question.
Okay,
I
go
have
ahead.
one more. So sales resistance was a thing I kind of struggle with. Um and I'm not exactly sure if that's the reason why it worked in your chat, but um, instead of you like telling them stuff, it seems like you ask question and have them kind of self generated. So
Yeah.
like self, so is that the way? Because is that why the sales resistance was so low? Because you have them generate their own reason for doing something or saying a particular thing.
People like control, right? The only reason sales pressure is created is when the other person thinks that you're controlling the conversation and you're putting words into their mouth. And the approach that we have, they feel like they're controlling the conversation because we take whatever they said and ask a question based on that. So we don't ask any question out of
Okay.
context that makes them feel like, okay, I'm the one in control of this conversation. And my goal is always to like ask them questions to bring them to the conclusion. But let me tell you what, these people are dumb, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way. Actually, I do. You know, these people are kind of dumb, right? Because they know something is missing, but they just cannot figure it out. So even by asking a question, at times they would give you everything that you need to be like you're doing something wrong, but they cannot just figure it out because if they could, they would have fixed it. That's why we have something we call the pattern interrupt, where you say, "Do you see the pattern? Do you notice the pattern of why you're not where you want to be?" And then they're like, "Is it this?" You're like, "No, it's not that. You dumb fuck. It's this." Right? And they're like, ah, it's making so much sense. And then you and the best part is usually how I book calls, you know, when someone says that makes sense, then I'm like, of course that makes sense, bro. You know, I've been doing this for years. And I mean you're a DM setter, so you already know how this goes, but and I say like you're already a DM setter, so you already know how this goes, but I can help you. Would you be down to jump on a call sometime this week? Right? So I tell them like, hey, I'm setting you up for a call, for a sales call. You know how this goes, but I can help you. And they typically say yes, and with a lot of enthusiasm, because again, I've given them so much clarity within the DMs that even if they don't close, they can make something happen for themselves. Right? So I hope that makes sense. Do you guys have any other questions? Ivika, Karan, Maida, Jawan, Rothami, Umerubab. Any questions I can help you guys with?
No, makes sense. All good.
Okay. Sounds good, guys. The recording of this Q&A session will be uploaded on YouTube by the end of the week. So I'll send it over to you guys. Again, this was a great session. Let me know what you want to cover up on Monday. Whoever, like, if it's a topic that I feel like needs to be covered, just drop it down within the chat, in the group chat, and I'll just go through all the messages. I'll pick out a topic. We're going to discuss that on Monday. And then we can also have. Um, almost like a QC session, but for the next time, I want one of you guys to come up with a conversation. So, Karan, maybe you, if you can come up with a conversation, or we have Umayma, or we have Zoha, but someone is going to come up with conversation. We're going to QC some of their conversations so you can get a lot more value. Because again, I do this for a living. I've done this for years. I'm again really fucking good at this. Their conversations are going to be slightly different, so it's going to be a lot more helpful for you guys. But again, keep me updated with how it goes, champs, and keep on doing you. Keep on crushing it. If you have any questions, I'm always going to be a text away. Sounds good? For
Sounds good,
sure.
man.
Absolutely.
Sounds
Have a
good.
good one, guys. Take care.
Take care.
So, guys, bye bye.